Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the top 10 interesting pickups of 2022. Now, if you guys have been following the channel, you know this is our second to last video for this year. But to state the rules of what we're about to look at is I want to let you guys know these are the figures that I picked up over the course of 2022, but they're not all from the year 2022. So if you see a few that are a little bit odd and you're like, wait a minute, that's like from 05, now you'll get it. But starting off with number 10. And let you guys know, this one's a little bit of an odd one, but I love it all the same because it is the head of Generation 1, Megatron.
I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons.
Yes, we just said that, Megatron. But to be more accurate, guys, this is a helmet thereof. And if you can kind of see by some of the light, it's got a lot of detailing in there. Plus, he has a cheeky Decepticon emblem right there where your mouth goes in the helmet. And the other thing is, as you heard, is Frank Welker is the one that is voicing the lines for this helmet. So he also says things like,
I'll crush you with my bare hands. Decepticons, attack! The universe is mine!
Now, one of the interesting things about this also is not just the electronics and the voice lines and all that, but if you can kind of see some of the details on the helmet, they've actually gone in and added a lot of weathering and battle damage. Unlike Siege's crappy effects, you can see like here on his cheek marks where maybe like Optimus was decking him or something. But it is really kind of cool because while I don't cosplay, this does make an interesting display piece to have sitting around the house, so I definitely love it. And that's why he lands where he does. Number 9 is the 2003 Takara reissue of Soundwave. Now, Soundwave came in this little box. As you can see, some of the photo stuff, I mean, it has a lot of G1 references and stuff, which for me, a guy that grew up with Beast Wars, it's kind of cool to look at some of this stuff, even though I've seen pictures of Roddy and all that sort of thing. But the fact that after that book, you would find him nice and enclosed in this case. So definitely love the presentation of the box. However, when looking at the guy himself, you can tell that, I mean, just the design cues of this guy is really telling because not a lot of people know, this figure was designed in 1974, 10 years before he would appear in the cartoon as the character that he would eventually become immortalized as. And I gotta say that despite the fact of its limited engineering, again, you have to keep in mind, this is the very genesis of where the brand came from. And I like the fact that it's not a one-to-one like masterpiece. It's got that early feel, which, you know, like I said, I grew up watching Beast Wars. So I have an appreciation for the original characters and not only what they represented at the time, but, you know, what they also represent now also. So our pick for number 8 is the Universe version of Inferno. Now, we did a full breakdown of this guy and I don't want to rehash everything I did because this figure, it originally started out its life, I believe, as not only Mock Alert, or as he was also known in America, Prowl. But the thing is this is a solidly designed figure that, you know, it's got some weird, maybe weakness foibles here and there, but for the most part, it's a solid built design. One of the things that, for all the years and all the iterations that I had of this figure, I didn't know you could take the rocket boosters from his arm, and it's actually designed to go over the light bar to give him a jetpack. But again, for all the iterations, and the fact that this is the Predacon Inferno, or an alternate universe version thereof, it just adds to how awesome this guy is. And number 7 is none other than Vector Prime. Now, over the years, my stance on Cybertron has softened. And so that's why I kind of like this character. Plus the fact I always wanted this colored version specifically. I like it better than, you know, the 1602 paint job that he's well known for. Mainly because, look at one of his primary colors. It's my favorite. Plus, in addition to the orange, the dude is very winged. And he has a giant orange sword. And the boy is just crazy looking in the details. And I dig that. Plus, the thing that when everybody was going nuts looking for the Legacy Cosmos, this is around the same time I got this guy. So my focus was more here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love to have a Cosmos, but this kind of reoriented my focus to this older guy, because for a Cybertron figure, this guy has some decent posing. And his alt mode is kind of, I wonder if Aaron Archer was secretly trying to design his own Star Wars vehicle, because when Vector Prime transforms, it looks like something between Darth Maul's scimitar and a TIE Interceptor. And I'm like, Aaron Archer, you tried to be cheeky. Oh my gosh. But I love this guy nonetheless. And our pick for number 6 is none other than Earthrise Dirge. Now, we had the Cybertron Dirge in last year's video, and I said something to the effect of, while his fellow 2 Coneheads, the actual Dirge and Ramjet, are super expensive. Now, while I will not have all 3 of the Coneheads, well, let me just say this, that opportunity knocked and I took it. Because of the Coneheads, Dirge is my favorite. Just because he's so different from the other 2, you know, because a lot of the Seekers, what do we always see? The wings are on their back. Well, him and like the Beast Machine's Night Scream are 2 characters that I kind of like the fact of how the wings are on the legs, because it just makes it different enough. And this boy in his jet mode looks awesome. So while I had the classics version back in the day, when we started going towards the Voyager scale and Siege, he just didn't fit in. So to have basically an upsized version of that, because I mean the engineering is very similar, but so it feels familiar, but still is something new at the same time. So definitely an awesome Decepticon. So our number 5 pick is that of the Buzzworthy Studio Series crossover version of Cliff Jumper. Now the fact that this guy is just a reuse of the Earthrise mold is pretty awesome, because the fact that now his limbs are gray, he's a lighter red, the windshield, the front and the back one have been colored in to make it more animation accurate. That is what makes this guy leaps and bounds better beyond his original Earthrise release. And we kind of see this being a trend that we see with a lot of the Generation 1 guys, where they're taking the old Generation 1 molds and applying the cartoon accurate deco. So when they do it on a figure that's got some amazing engineering like Cliff Jumper, is it really any wonder why this guy lands at number 5? So our pick for number 4 is that of the Nest Bumblebee. So guys, I don't want to go into full review mode, but we do have a lot of ground to cover with this guy. Because as everybody knows, the Bumblebee movie was the starting of a new cinematic universe for the Transformers. It stands apart from the Bayverse by, I guess, being the B-verse. And so this is the B-verse version of the character, yet he's rocking the Bayverse and deco from the Nest. So that kind of opens this character up to being a character like maybe Centurion from the IDW comic books, if you know, you know. So it doesn't have to be strictly Bumblebee. And the thing is, the robot mode is killer. It has some amazing posing, and on top of that, when you look at his size, as you can see in this photo, he is bigger than Cliff Jumper, but he is smaller than Inferno. And Inferno is the same size of Deluxe that we generally get nowadays. But aside from that, the one thing that really tipped me over, and I've always liked about this, is the Jeep mode. And it just looks awesome because I'm a sucker for Jeep Transformers. Now, the original version of this mold was in yellow. And I'm like, I'm surprised they didn't slap a little bit of purple on there with a new head and say, hey, here's a version of Swindle. Because this was like perfect for him. I mean, heck, you could have even remolded in the bottom of the foot a different weapon instead of the pop-on one that he has, and it would have been perfect for Swindle. Or, I know there's a Bayverse version of Hound, but in the B-verse, if you wanted a more G1-esque style Hound, this mold would have been awesome for that. So for the factors that we just mentioned of how he straddles the movie universe line, I mean, it does make him a certainly odd one, but have you guys seen the ones we just looked at? Is it any surprise that I would like one that follows that line of thought? Our number 3 pick is that of the Golden Disc Mutant Tigatron. And guys, okay, obviously I think you know why I like this figure. A, the color. The B, look at that sick head. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tigatron's head sculpt were, for the normal version, awesome, amazing, totally accurate. But the fact that they're referencing the Beast mask And oh man, just the level and the detail and the engineering and the size of this guy. I mean, when you put him up to guys like Cliff, I mean, the fact that Tigatron is a Voyager figure, and I mean, just the boys posing, and the fact that due to this guy's fiction, you can use him as a misguided bad guy, or you can just use him as a straight up normal maximal version. And I just absolutely dig the engineering of this figure. Plus, like I said in his video, the thing they corrected from him from the days when they released the Kingdom Cheetor was the fact that they gave him his gut gun. And I'm like, thank you. I don't care that you have to plunk it on the bottom and it doesn't incorporate. Just for him to have it, more than just the tail whip. Oh man, this guy is awesome. But there is a reason that he lands as number 3 on the list, and I was not gonna have a stinker in the top 3. And number 2 on our list is none other than the re-release of Cybershark. Now, I don't normally like figures that are shell formers, but there's just something about Cybershark that he just wears it so awesome, because it does look like side armor, but I do love how the fins become essentially like wings on this figure. That's really cool. The fact that his beast mode head becomes like a war hammer that he can just whack Decepticons with. Plus he has a pincer, which is very, very Beast Wars. I love it. And the fact that he kind of laughs at movie Lockdown saying, "Huh, boy, you have to exchange your ugly face for a gun." I just pop it right out of my chest. Now, the other thing is, the missiles that he comes with, he can wield them like clubs, or he can fire them from his chest, and it actually has a decent firing mechanism. The only time it doesn't is whenever you plug the beast mode chest in there, it doesn't go that far. But, you know, whatever, small nitpick. Plus the fact that, as you can obviously tell by the name and this piece right here, the dude is a hammerhead shark. And while I love the original Transmetal 2 one that is a great white, just having a hammerhead alt mode. I mean, sharks and transformers, they can be done right and they can be done wrong. So Cybershark lands more in the correct camp of how to do a shark transformer. Plus, I mean, this is like, what, the 2nd year in a row that a Beast Wars guy has landed at number 2. Now, for number 1, I promise we will get there, but uno momento por favor, because we have to give some honorable mentions. Now, the first honorable mention that I want to go ahead and give is that of the Studio Series Starscream. And more specifically, not the figure himself, but the throne. So many figures look good sitting on Megatron's throne, and I'm digging it. However, it could have landed anywhere on this list. Much like the next honorable mention, which is that of the Shattered Glass Soundwave. Now, I love the boy. He's very crispy and white, and he just looks good. And it is just such a kind of refreshing take on that mold that, because it's so different, that's why he is awesome, and again, why he is also a honorable mention. Now guys, if you saw the Dragon Megatron video, you may know which one's getting ready to come up. But it's funny because in a previous video, when I was talking about Dasaurus, I said something to the effect of, I did not back Starsaber. I had a big bill that I had to pay right at the same time that Starsaber's funding was ending. And I was like, oh, because that one was really kind of cool. Well, do you guys remember what happened with Dirge? Yep, pretty much. Again, when opportunity knocks, do not miss it, because you'll regret it. And let me tell you, at this point, everybody and their dog has done a review on Starsaber. I'm just thrilled to have him, and he looks so awesome. And you know, he's not perfect, but he's really good, and I think that's all that matters. So if we extract the aura and the FOMO that surrounded this guy after the Unicron debacle, I mean, just looking at it from an engineering and design standpoint, it's superior to any of the guys that I just showed you. And I mean, that's a testament, because I like the things that it does. So even when I don't subtract the aura and FOMO that surrounded this guy, it makes me appreciate him all the more. So can't wait for the day that I get to pose him at Deathsaurus and take pictures and all that sort of stuff. But definitely he is my number one for a multitude of reasons. Some deep, some not at all. So if you guys made it here to the end of the video, you might have actually noticed something about this entire list that we looked at. And the fact is that being there are 0 legacy figures. There are some Studio Series ones that kind of straddle the line, but not one of them is a legacy figure. So if you guys had watched the Megatron video all the way to the end, you'll know exactly why that is. However, with that being said, about that video, if you guys are part of the group that actually went and watched that video, first of all, thank you guys very much. And second of all, you guys are absolute rock stars, because I looked at the numbers on that video and I'm like, wow, people really love the Dragon Megatron. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, I love the character too, he's awesome. Aside from that, guys, thank you very much for making this year an awesome one. And again, I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff that we're going to do in 2023. But we do have one more thing left before the year wraps up. But for right now and for this week, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And until next time, I'll see you in another one.